Hi, this is Meg. Welcome to Spit It Out. This is where we cut the fluff and spill life's real truths. Today, I have my first ever guest that I am so excited to share with you guys. This is Martha May. I'm going to give her a second to introduce herself to you, and then we will get going with the questions. So I'll give it over to you, Martha.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on your podcast. I am super honored. If you guys don't know me, my name is Martha May. I'm a registered dental hygienist in Dallas, Texas, specifically a temp hygienist. I am originally from El Paso, Texas. I moved to Dallas about 3 years ago just to pursue a lot of dreams and goals that I wanted for myself. I am Hispanic. I have three brothers, three sisters. I also have a weenie dog. His name's Hunter. He's blonde with long hair. I also own a business called Honey May Collection. We are a dental apparel and embroidery design specifically meant for the dental community, so hygienists, assistants, and dentists. I also incorporate a lot of bulk ordering for hygiene and assisting programs, along with a lot of offices that want to order apparel and shirts for their offices.
Today's episode is focused on temping mostly
Mhm.
and Martha's business. I don't know a whole lot of hygienists who full-time temp, which I think is so exciting. I've only temped kind of here and there just to help pay off my student loan, but I
Mm,
think there's so many different perspectives when it comes to temping and
mm,
taxes and all that fun
mm.
stuff. So let's just get right into it. There is always a debate about 1099 versus W-2 status for temps,
Yes.
especially during tax season. Tell me a little bit about your experience with taxes, what people are saying with what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and give us some tips because I'd love to know.
So there is a lot of different information out there as far as a temp hygienist being able to be a 1099 versus W-2. And I'm gonna kind of like break it down for people that are like absolutely new, don't know anything about it. So if you are employed by an office, you are automatically a W-2, meaning that 15.3% of what you make is going to taxes, and your employer is going to pay half of that. Okay. That is usually how it happens. It's your Social Security and your Medicaid. Comparing to 1099 is that 15.3%, you have to pay it out of pocket. Okay. So with temps making more, you are still able to put that money aside. And that is why I often say minimum save 15% of your paycheck towards taxes. And I say that very like minimum is minimum, okay? Because a lot of people what don't realize is the higher your income, the higher the tax bracket becomes. So 15% minimum is not going to always cover you, and that is where a lot of permanent hygienists get caught, and they think they could just come, get their quick paycheck, not save for taxes, and then tax season comes, and they're like, what the heck? I didn't know I was supposed to save for taxes. And that is where a lot of hygienists get upset when 1099 hygienists come in and they're like, you're not supposed to be a 1099. And that's another thing. A lot of people are here mentioning, like, oh, just file the SS8 form that helps you look for this employer. The IRS will look for this office and they will make them, pay those taxes. What they're not telling you is this SS8 form takes minimum 6 months to complete, especially if you're planning on doing your taxes. Now you're going to be late, and I don't know anything in the IRS that is fast, other than when
Mm-mm.
Uncle Sam wants his money. Okay?
True. That is
So
true.
that is probably the biggest thing, and the biggest advice I can do is do your research, save minimum 15% of your those paychecks, and make it a habit where you are absolutely saving that 15% because you will get behind really fast if you're like, "Oh, I'll just save it on my next paycheck." It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Honestly, I am really curious now that you kind of mentioned just the complexity of the taxes and just all of this stuff that people don't really know. Do you use a certain tax form or something to organize all of the W-2s that you get? Because
Mm,
just for example, in my state, we don't have anything like cloud dentistry or any of those temping agencies. And so for example, if I were to full-time temp, I would have to collect all of the W-2s and it seems a little overwhelming, but I was
mm.
just wondering if you have any tips with that.
For sure. I mean, the easiest thing to do is create an Excel sheet. I have an Excel sheet that I follow with the date, the office, the amount or rate that I'm getting paid, the hours and just how much I got paid, you can choose to do an extra column of how much you saved for that paycheck. That way it keeps you in line. That brings us to the next one is the CPA. So having a CPA, which is the Certified Public Accountant, is going to help you and guide you through those taxes. So a CPA is more knowledge on deductibles when it comes to 1099, and that is a big difference between a W-2 and a 1099. Again, 1099, you're able to actually deduct those things like your uniform, your mileage, those 4K loops that you purchase, those can actually be put in there
Yeah,
and
that's true.
get those advantages in, and at the end of the day it ends up kind of like balancing out between 1099 and W2 because you have those deductibles that you can help bring down those taxes.
So, did you begin your career in a permanent office or did you jump straight into temping? And what made you kind of choose to temp full time?
When I was in hygiene school, I already knew that I wanted somewhere where I was going to grow. I've been always on a mindset that there's always room to grow. And, back then when, 2023 was happening, TikTok wasn't a big thing and YouTube was the thing at the time. And I used to watch a lot of the TikTok girl. I used to watch Carla. She used to do like temp videos, and Taja, she's the owner from Taffy Scrubs now. And she would also do like little pointers on temping, and that was basically all we had. And that is all I watched all the time. I knew I wasn't going to stay in El Paso. I wanted to move. I just didn't know where I was moving, but I knew I was moving. Right off the bat, off hygiene, I went straight into temping. I didn't even think to get a permanent job because I'm not staying here for long. Why would I get a permanent job? And that is probably the best choice that I made for myself. And that is what began all this.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what do you enjoy most about temping compared to the idea of working at a permanent office?
I think there's a few pointers for sure, but I think the biggest one is having my flexibility for my business. I think oftentimes when we go to hygiene school and we invest all this time and effort into becoming a hygienist, we tend to go for a job that's full time, clinic side, and we're not allowed to be anything else. I wanted to be able to do other things with my life. I want to be someone else other than the hygienist in the app. That is where my business started, and having that flexibility to, if I have a new launch coming out, this week I'm not going to work that much. If I have nothing going on, I'm going to work 4 or 5 days. And that truly helped me kind of maneuver not only my temping side, but also my business. Another one is, of course, money. Who doesn't like to get paid more, right? And not just getting paid more, but you get paid same day. You don't have to wait, those 2 weeks. You get your paycheck, you're out the door, or even then, a couple days, you get it on your bank, and that's it. Even if it was a bad office, you never have to go again, and you got paid a good lumps of money.
That's really
And
true.
I think
That's really true.
probably a one that we gotta talk about is the drama. Like, I love that when I go temp, everybody loves me. Everybody's so nice to me. And, after a couple days, you start hearing the gossip, and you're like, oh, okay, this is the tea. But you're always the good guy.
No, that's true. And I love that there's so many positives about temping and
Mm.
I think it's so beautiful and I hope more people can recognize that there are a lot of positives. But I do think some people tend to focus on the negatives, which isn't always a bad thing, but I think it's good to kind of balance out both of them. So from your experience the last few years, what are some of your biggest challenges when it comes to adjusting to a new office or a new team?
I think there's a lot of different personalities out there. And you really have to like adjust yourself to the office. If they're super hyped up and excited for the day, you have to be super excited for the day. Um, I think that has been like just trying to maneuver through the personalities. Also, the doctors. Doctors work very different, even if they're all general dentistry. They all work differently. Sometimes they want you to talk, sometimes they don't want you to talk, sometimes they just want you to give them the spiel. That's probably the biggest one. Patients in every single office are so different. I've gotten so many times when I go to an office and they're like, "Who are you? You're not my hygienist." And I'm like, "All right, Mr. Steven, give me a second. I promise you're gonna love me and you're gonna request me next time, okay?" And Yeah, honestly, that's been like the probably the biggest struggles, or not, I wouldn't say struggles, but just trying to maneuver through everything with people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine hearing all day, every day, you're not who I usually had. Or also, I think, going off of what you said with the doctors, I do think the vibe of the doctor really sets the tone for the whole office. I don't know if you kind of
Agree.
agree with that. Like, okay, I'm going to go in and who am I going to be today? I think that's kind of cool though. I don't know. It's really interesting. Speaking of all of that, have you ever been to an office that did not meet your standard of care? And if so, how did you handle that?
I know you had mentioned, like, of course, people talk about the bad side. If you look at my social media, I got plenty of stories to tell you on bad offices that I've gone to. But of course, there's pros and cons to everything. And with temping, you are gonna fall sometimes into those bad offices. And I call it picking the bad apples out. You're not gonna know if it's a bad office unless you see reviews or you try it for yourself. We're all different. We all practice different, and what can work for one hygienist might not work for another. So if it's not your cup of tea, you never have to go back. When it comes to standard of care, I think there could be a couple things that I could mention. So sterilization, the cleanliness of an office is a big thing for me. I've gone to an office where the towel in the sanitation area where you put all your clean instruments stiff. I'm talking, I could break this like a graham cracker. Okay? I felt so sad for these patients. I've been to an office where the patient's telling me the water tastes like lemon water, and I'm like, that don't sound right. And now, keep in mind, this op was ready to go for me. I didn't have to do nothing. And I'm like, no worries. Maybe the bottle was left overnight. Let me switch it out, put a new bottle in. I don't know. It tastes a little weird. I'm like, okay, tell me why I dumped the water. There's chunks of black stuff build up underneath. Yeah. Stay bored, is that you? Like,
What? Oh my
the horror.
gosh.
Like, what do I even tell the patient? Like, hey, by the way, you're drinking all these little buildup floaties in the water. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even know. I
It's
don't
it was really
know.
sad. And that's probably like a hard pill to swallow. And the worst part is there's a permanent hygienist. What are we doing? Are we not running the lines? Are we not cleaning the bottles? And this happens a lot more than I like to say, but there's offices that are doing that and nobody says anything about it.
Do you have any experiences with speaking up for yourself and maybe your patients in those situations?
For sure, like if a patient has an autoimmune disease or you're drinking all this like bacteria that's been sitting there, that's not good for you. And I did at that point with the water bottle did tell the hygienist like I need you to come to the stop and look at this with me so you don't think I'm crazy or I'm being a diva hygienist. She was like, "Oh, I don't know, like I only do my op." And I'm like, "Well, then who's doing this op?" She did talk to the doctor and they fixed it. And I went in with that bottle scrubbing, getting the Clorox out, because I'm not going to treat my patients with that disgusting buildup on there.
I think sometimes some hygienists can get into a rut with temping. It's almost like this isn't my room, so I'm not going to pay attention to it. It's like out of sight, out of mind. But I almost think it's still negligent and it's still your responsibility. It's still your license. All of those patients that you're seeing that day, I think you should almost treat them like you're seeing them every 6 months, every 3 months, because I think some offices who do have frequent temps, they tend to lose that standard of care quickly if we have a consistent amount of people who kind of don't really care as much. And
Hmm.
I'm really hoping that the culture can change the more we talk about it. I really hope so.
For sure. I think that is probably like my biggest thing with my content. Like, yes, you are allowed to be free, you're allowed to be flexible, you're allowed to get paid more, but you also have to keep that standard of care for those patients. Even
Yeah,
though you don't see them every 6 months, doesn't mean that they don't deserve top tier quality in care.
exactly.
And even if you're never gonna go back, I think the only way a temp can deal with something like this is to not go back, leave a bad review for like the other temps to know. And it gets to the point where you're getting all these bad reviews, nobody's gonna come to your office, and you're gonna have to realize that the phone call is coming from inside the house.
There you go. That's a
Okay?
good way to
Mm-hmm.
put it. That's a really good
Mm-hmm.
way to put it. And when it comes to moving around with all these offices, how do you stay organized when all of these offices have different systems, not just standard of care, but schedules, protocols, computer systems, everything?
Wow. So there's a lot of things in temping that you can't control. You can't control the software system. You can't control where they put their stuff, what kind of sensors they have, but you can control your personality, your energy, your attitude when you get into that office. You can control a routine. A lot of people think like, how do you change from one office to the other and just flow? It's because my routine never changes. I have in my mind already things that I'm pre-wired to do regardless if the suction's on my left side or my right side, I still know I have to get certain things done. And from the very first patient to the very last patient, what you see is a smile on my face, welcoming you, and that positive energy because that can get you very far with a patient. Set a routine for yourself. For example, when I go in, I'm like, hey, my name is Martha. I'm going to be your hygienist today. I tell them what we're doing today. If we're doing a prophy, I say we're doing your prophy. That is also known as your standard cleaning. So if you ever hear prophy, that's what it is. So we can get patients used to hearing these words. Coming in for your periodontal maintenance, which is your maintenance cleaning after getting a deep cleaning, just so they understand the lingo a little bit better. I'm not going to say you're just coming in for a deep cleaning. I'm telling you, you're coming in for an SRP or scaling and root planing. That is this. If we need to go through medical history, medications, if we need to take x-rays, that's what I'm doing. If we don't need x-rays, I'm already laying them back. And that is how I just flow regardless of where I'm at. I promise once you're in the zone with the patient back and you're starting your prophy, you're like, wait a minute, I know how to do this because I trained for it. And it all feels like it just goes away, the anxiety goes away, and you're like, okay, I can do it. And I promise it gets better. Sometimes people are like, I don't know, I tried it once and I hated it. Try it again and again and again until you get better. Like, that's all you can really do.
Do you have any offices that you still go back to this day that you like absolutely love?
Yeah. So once you start temping and you build a list of good offices and they continue to book you, you kind of make it like you're kind of permanent, but you're not. I have an office I go to every single Friday without missing a beat. And I believe they have 5 permanent hygienists, but they all want to be part-time. So they bring in temps and they pick and choose their temps. So now we have a set of temps, and I'm one of those temps that comes on a daily basis to cover for those permanent hygienists because they know that we hold that same quality of care.
On the same note, what advice do you give to someone who has a hard time picking up the computer systems? Because I feel like that was something I
Mm.
really struggled with, was like, oh my God, I need to figure out everything in this one and everything's different. And
When I go to temp, I'm like, don't tell me how to reboot the system 15 different ways. I don't gotta know that, babe. I just want you to show me my row of patients. Who am I seeing? Okay. And then I personally, like on my own time, I'll go down through their treatment pending, what conversation we had in the past, and then show me where they're charted, how to do my notes. You don't gotta make my template. I know what I need to leave on my note. Show me how to make my x-rays, how do I plug in the sensor, and how do I probe? I need a probe.
mm-hmm.
Especially if you're not probing your patients since 2012. Like, we got to start probing now.
We got to start probing yesterday, babe.
Yesterday, babe.
There's a lot of things I hate about like trying a new office, but I do think like there's a couple pet peeves I have. So tell me if you get this, but like I go to a new office and I'm a lefty, so it's a little different. So where like before I get in the office, I'm like, can you switch it to the left side, please? Thank you so much. And then I walk in, I'm like, okay,
Oh
can
my
I work
God.
today? Anyways, that's my first anxiety. I switch it left-handed and I immediately dart to the dentist. And I personally go, hi, I'm just letting you know, I'm a lefty. I would really like it if you just left my op where it is and just did exams on the left side, please. Some of the dentists go, okay. And then I've had others where actually will move the entire op right-handed. As you can imagine, as the patient's laid back, their whole head goes like this to the other side. And I'm just staring there like for literally 30 seconds. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh, please. Because then I have to swing them back. And so I've quickly learned as a lefty that it's a little more like just pet peevey when it comes to that stuff. Probing, I really am so passionate about probing as much as humanly possible. I think we should all probe more even as permanent hygienist, I try to probe, even spot probe pro fees when I just did it literally 3 months ago. I'll still just check. You never know. And I'm so passionate about good x-rays, good probing, open contacts. Like if it doesn't look good, I can't see it, I'm retaking it. I'm gonna retake it. I don't care. I don't
It gets to
care.
the point sometimes I'm like, what is going on with this overlapping, babe?
Oh, yeah, I know. And I feel
Yeah,
bad, but I'm just like, hey, let me just fix that really quick.
I always tell them, I'm like, don't worry, you get more
Yeah,
radiation from eating a banana.
there you go. After bouncing around so many offices from your experience, do you have any tips for offices when it comes to temping? Like if a dentist or a manager was watching or any type of leadership in an office, what would you give to them if they're thinking about getting a temp?
Oh, this is golden key for temps, okay? So if you are a manager or a dentist, whoever you're listening, make a damn spreadsheet. You put the passwords down for the computer, for the software system. Tell me how you run your office in a piece of paper. I know a lot of times, like permanent hygienists say, like, I don't like having temps because they just want to bother me and I feel like I'm babysitting. Babe, trust me, we don't want to bother you either. We want to just flow just like you, okay? So make a spreadsheet, laminate that baby. It will last you forever, okay? Put the passwords, but how you flow on in the office, do you want us to walk them out? Do you want us to wait and leave them in the op? Like that is probably the best way you can get your temp to succeed at your office without making the patient feel like, damn, is she new or is this her first day? That will save you a ton of headache.
When it comes to payment, do you like same day pay always, or do you ever accept like, oh, we'll pay you during payday in like a week or two?
Gotten a few that do say like, can we pay you on X day? I have a few offices that are, 7 days or more for the pay to come in, but it doesn't really bother me because it's not that many offices. Oftentimes it's through Cloud Pay, and Cloud Pay takes maybe 2 to 3 days. Sometimes they just do paycheck, which is just the easier route. But it personally, it doesn't bother me.
For any hygienists out there that are thinking about temping for the first time, or maybe coming out of school, or maybe even working at a permanent office and thinking they want to change, what's your biggest tips for these people?
If you are a permanent hygienist and you're thinking about temping, be ready to feel anxious, be ready to feel nervous, because that's normal. It's just because you care and you want to do well by your patients. Of course, you don't want to look dumb, right? But I think that's probably like that feeling that like you're got a knot in your stomach and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. Everybody goes through it. It takes time to build this kind of routine as a temp. So don't be scared to fail. Don't be scared if you're like, shoot, I forgot to reschedule that patient. It's not the end of the world. They can call him up and schedule. I think a lot of people think they want to come in and be perfect. I was not perfect. Let me just say that. I didn't know what the standard of care was. I didn't realize what it was a good office or a bad office until I was at a bad office and I was like, I don't like this and I don't think that's right. And you slowly start picking out like, this is the way it should be. This is not the way it should be. And it just takes time. Give yourself time and give yourself grace.
Remind me how long you've been temping full time now?
I graduated May of 2023.
Me too. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Oh,
Good.
that's funny. Do you ever see yourself ever doing a permanent position in the future?
I'm not opposed to it. If I find that office that I'm like, man, I I wouldn't mind coming here every single day, then yeah, I'm 100% not opposed to it. I think if the doctor's great and they give a good, they have a good set of standard on how to treat your patients and the way it should be done, and I agree with the way the office runs, and I feel heard and I feel seen and I feel appreciated. Yeah, I wouldn't mind being a permanent hygienist. I think right now with temping and having my business, it just flows so easy to be able to just pick and choose when I work.
How do you balance temping with your Honey Make collection?
I'm tired all the time.
You're a busy lady. You're a busy
I
lady.
am. It's very rare to catch me either on other people's lives or even on my life because that is just how busy I've become. It's a lot of back and forth. So if I'm at lunch during my temp shift, I'm making content, I'm answering emails, I'm brainstorming design. My partner will tell you my brain is on go from the time I wake up to the time I lay down. And that is just who I am. I think I've always been a very self-driven person. That's probably why I'm so like, okay, we need to do this and we need to do this and we need to do that. And that is why my business has grown so fast the way it is because I maneuver and I change so fast. I never give myself enough time to relax. For sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really need to like set boundaries. Maybe not answering emails at 10 p.m., maybe setting a cutoff. And if you're thinking, man, I'm gonna leave my 9 to 5 for my business and I'm not gonna have to work, guess what? It's a 24/7. So be ready. And you know, like having your podcast, you're thinking about her all the time. You're like, how can I make her better? So you feel that.
Yeah. How many days a week do you temp and how many days a week do you do your business full time? Or do you mix it? Like, what does a week in your life look like from Monday to Sunday in terms
Mm.
of your balancing everything?
Yeah. So usually I like my happy spot to be about 3 to 4 days a week. That is like my happy spot. 5 days,
Hmm.
I'm kind of angry. 6 days, no. Okay. 3 days is like the best week ever because I get to come and on those days off, I'm not really off. I'm working on my business. So it truly depends on how busy I am. If I have a lot of orders to pack, if I have something big coming up, then I lessen my temp days versus those slow weeks that are like, yeah, we're just barely chugging along. Then I'll fill my days with temping. And it truly just goes back and forth on like, what does the week look like? What do I need to do? What am I, what meetings do I have to be at? It makes it super easy to be able to do both.
Honestly, I wanted to add this question just bouncing off of being a business owner and just self employed. I'm starting to talk a little bit more about finance with my audience. And because I feel like in dental hygiene school, we're not really taught how to invest or how to prepare for one day when we're not working. Do you have any tips for newer temps when it comes to saving for retirement?
Ooh, yes. So having your Roth IRA is so important, especially as a temp. You are not getting benefits. I mean, a lot of temps that are permanent don't get those benefits anyways, but
Hmm.
regardless, temp or permanent, having your Roth IRA or having that investment, look into investing. That is so important. Make your money work for you is probably the best quote I've ever heard in my life. You don't even have to do all the research. There's programs out there that help you and put all that research in your lap and they're like, now you just gotta pick. What do you want to invest in? Where do you want to put your money? Those $30 that you were gonna go and spend on a Target run, go put them in your investment. Go put it in your Roth IRA and let it work for you. I think that is probably any entrepreneur will tell you that. Make your money work for you and look into investing and look into property.
Just to wrap up our time together a little bit, what is something about temping or business ownership that might surprise other hygienists listening?
Temping and business ownership has a lot of similarity. Number one, you have to be very self-driven. Very self-driven. You're not going to get booked if you don't put yourself out there. You're not going to get booked if you don't make your profile good quality. Put a good quality picture. Put how many, qualifications you have. Are you bilingual? Do you have certifications? And you truly have to put yourself out there to stand out from the crowd. Same thing with having a business. Sometimes when you go to a temp office, they don't really know what you need. Sometimes they will just throw you into an op and be like, "This is your op. Good luck." And you have to be like, "Well, wait a second. Where's everything else? Like, where do I find the sensor? Where do I find the nomad? Where's sterilization? Where's the break room? I got my lunch bag with me." And not being shy about taking lead and telling them what you need. That is a big similarity with having a business. Like either you take lead or nobody will. So
Absolutely.
those two for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Martha, what is next for you in your career and where can my lovely listeners connect with you online?
For now, I'm very happy being a full-time temp. I think being able to educate other people into the temping world and guide other permanent hygienists that are either feeling miserable or have a toxic office, giving them that courage to transition and try temping has truly made me feel like I'm leaving my imprint somewhere. and I'm really happy with the way it stands right now. Again, I wouldn't be sad if I found a good office that appreciated a hygienist, but for right now, I think temping is where it's at. Honey May collection is growing very fast, trying to keep up with everything that's happening. It is going to turn 1 year old in October, which is so
That's
crazy.
so exciting. Wow.
Yeah, and I never imagined that it would be what it is now, and I can't even imagine what it will become in 2 years and 3 years. You're not aware, I'm launching my dental Honey May headbands with toothy magnetic buttons. Yeah, because
What? Wait,
sometimes,
what?
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yes, they're gonna
Whoa.
be so cute. Um, I wanted to do magnetic because sometimes, people's ears are down here or up here. We all got different heads. So having those buttons be able to be magnetic and move to put on your mask is gonna be super exciting.
Wow. I've never thought about that. That's like amazing. Because I can't live without the buttons on my scrub cap because
Me
it
too.
really like it hurts your ears, you know? Like it
Yes.
sucks.
She's
Oh my
not
gosh.
lunching until end of this month or next month. So
Okay.
you can find me and my content on TikTok under Martha May RDH, and you can find my business on TikTok as well under Honey May Collection.
Well, thank you so much for spending your morning with me. I love talking with you and I love your content. And I hope all of you out there can go check out Martha's collection coming out and all of the fun stuff she has planned for Halloween. I'm sure, do you have a Christmas collection? Oh
Yeah,
yeah, all the holidays. I
yeah.
have one of her I have one of her xylitol shirts and I get compliments about it to this day. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.